Okay, Marcus, I'm having this debate with a project management colleague, and we're going backwards and forwards on it. So whenever you have a big project like a skyscraper or a big infrastructure project like an airport, 9.9 times out of 10, the project manager was formerly a civil engineer, which makes sense. Concrete farming, steel, big structures, getting the footings done right. But the question is, should the project manager be a civil engineer, or should it be someone who's got a mechanical engineering background who understands how to get a building finished? What do you think?
Okay, well, I think you just hit it on the head there with the building finished, right? But at the same time, so let's say there's two ways I look at it. Is it's either going to be an envelope commissioning or it's going to be basically an MEP. A lot of times if I'm doing both, right, then basically I could be there all the time for both, because obviously envelope's going to start way early. It's going to start basically, SDDD when you're going through all areas, you're breaking ground, you're doing the different, ground soil studies and stuff like that. So, but that's commissioning, right? But when I'm dealing with someone who's basically running it, obviously, hopefully they understand what's going on. They're competent, from one of our other sessions, but at the same time, okay, hopefully they have the team underneath them and they understand that maybe their skills are not as great as they should be. So they have a team and they delegate. A lot of the times, we'll have a really good team lead or a project manager that I'd say is pretty good. But at the same time, you said the word finishing. Okay. So if you've spent your entire life doing structural, I don't know how much MEP you really know, right? And so there's a lot of components of MEP that, I mean, just from chase to this, to bends to that, how you get there, what's this, and remember, everybody, like, engineering, when you're doing your drawings for mechanical, like in the beginning, you're given this space this big. And then by the time you actually get a space, like you literally just put, 80,000 pounds into basically an area that can hold like, a suitcase.
Yeah.
Right. And then at the end of the day, you'll see, I mean, I've seen mechanical rooms that literally held so much stuff. It was a magician who was that pipe bender. I'm telling you, like electrical, piping. I mean, how you could ever fit 4 or 5 exchangers and 5 pumps and this and that into a closet. But remember, though, that's what you get, because what is important? Floor space. Floor space is billable space. It's money space, right? So, and I'm going on a tangent here, but structural, mechanical, spaces, chases, accessibility. So the answer should always be no. One person cannot and should not be, I know they're not in charge of it, but you got to have dedicated people in construction, engineering, architecture, who understands and have, that, I mean, isn't that what an RFQ was? Yeah. Isn't that what basically a contractor or a subcontractor qualifications were? Isn't that what a shortlist interview was? You know what I mean? And how many people have been part of the bait and switch, where it's just like you get the A team that interviewed and then basically you get the D team that you work with.
Bait and switch. That is so true.
But it's just like, because we're expecting, to be working with people, shoulder to shoulder and making it right. And then it's kind of like, what? You have that, what? I mean, that's automatically a change order. That's an RFI. That's an ASR. For people who don't know, it's just like anything that basically, remember, confliction is okay, not confliction. Basically, talking points are good. Things that come up are better, but changes late mean nothing but high.
Oh, yeah, that's money. So yeah,
money.
Where I'm going with my conversation with my colleague on this is the way we have specialisms in commissioning, like envelope, commissioning management, commissioning authority. Yeah. I think there is room for that in the project management field. So one, the project manager of a construction job, let's just take a skyscraper in Manhattan, right? Just something I understand, right? So it normally takes, year and a half or year to design, 2 years to build it, assuming it gets greenlit immediately, right? So the project manager for that project has to be someone who understands construction and buildings, right? You can't be a process-only project manager. Let's just get that out of the way. When anyone says, I'm just a process person, and I manage meetings, that's a zero-value person. Get rid, right? So if I had to choose between a process-only project manager or a civil engineer, I'll take the civil engineer every day. But I think there should be a subset in project management called the finishing project manager. And in the last, if there's a 2-year construction program to get a skyscraper up, the last 6 months or 8 months, the project manager should switch from civil to a building services engineer, a mechanical electrical engineer, or commissioning professional, someone who understands how to get the systems up and running, integrate them, and get it handed over. So the civil engineer skill set is useful at the beginning when you're coming out the ground, you're doing the footings, the concrete, you have where all the risk is in a job. But when it comes to finishing, that skill set doesn't really help you, right? What matters is someone who understands how to finish a building and get it going.
Well, here's another even question. I mean, I've worked on skyscrapers that basically, like, in the beginning I had, good team, then it basically changed teams, and then somebody quit, and then another team came in, and that's the toughest part is, I mean, I've worked on jobs where I did have an MEP coordinator, and then they left, and then I got the civil coordinator to come in for MEP for the last 6 months. I was like, and then the first question, they're like, Marcus, I just want to be clear. I've heard the word commissioning, but I really don't know what it is. Can you help me out? And I'm like, sure. You know what I mean? So this has happened a lot in probably the last 3 years, to the point where someone new came in, and it's just like, this is the first commissioning job I've been on. And I'm like, I got one job that I literally went through 8 different coordinators. I'm talking in the span of like probably 7 months. I was like losing my mind. So I don't know what to say, but all I can say is that since we're going through a lot of commissioning QA, questions, like, we're going to keep on saying this, but commissioning, it's like, it should be one of the first 10 words you learn when you're going to school to be a contractor, construction management, engineering, architecture, sustainability. I'm sorry, but commissioning is so much more important than anybody gives it credit for right now. And you're going to see this in the next 5 years, that, like I said before, commissioning is the tip of the spear, and you need to be a hybrid. And I know we'll talk about that later, but if you are not a hybrid in this industry, and I mean hybrid, that means that you can understand many different disciplines. You really need to rethink it, because those are the people who are valuable. There is no longer just one person sitting in a corner doing one thing. We are all seller doers. We are all hybrids. We have to, and I'm going to tell everybody in the call, you have to read more. You have to learn more. You have to know more. You want to get paid more? You bring more value.
Oh, yeah, that's another whole
learn more
thing. So to close this out then, I think we agree project managers should be technical, and there's an argument on complex jobs, in my opinion, that at the end, that project manager needs to be a specialist in integration and handing systems over.
You don't have to be a master, what is it called? A master of all, and basically, what am I blanking here?
A generalist, right? Master of nothing, but knows everything.
We are approaching a world now where, I mean, you got to know something. And ever since the invention of, the phone or the computer, this ain't 20 years ago. Literally, like, if I want to learn about basically pool plaster, or if I want to learn about basically running this or that, I get on there, I watch a YouTube, 10 minutes later, I'm doing it. We have to learn more and fast, and you have to be able to adapt quickly.
My podcast partner, when he was in business, had his design firm. He used to make graduates do manual calculations for the first 6 months.
Yes. Manual J's, manual N's, manual S. Yes, they're right here on my wall, right there. Like, you can't see see my wall behind the screen, but yes, learn how to do them.
Okay, all right. So, project managers, you need to be technical. That's the takeaway from here, right?
But you also need to learn how to talk to people and to get people to actually do more.
Correct.